Fade in slow, golden hour lights spilling over the Carter family homestead like warm honey. The camera gliding past grazing Holsteins, past the ancient windmill, turning lazy circles against a cotton candy sky, past the rusted mailbox with Carter painted in Grandpa's shaky hand, until it lands on the monstrosity behind me, a $15 million alpine spa called the Pinnacle Retreat. Built from scratch. And right in the foreground, my barn, red paint flaking like old scabs, tin roof rattling in the breeze, the honest stink of fresh cow patties drifting up to mingle with the scent of imported orchids and overpriced lattes. That spa, planted dead center on 142 acres of prime East Tennessee loam my bloodline has defended since Truman was president, since Grandpa Harlan Carter was 16, heart still tuned to the rhythm of Grandpa's old John Deere. And I'm about to walk you through the moment I turned her silk scarf siege into federal indictment, handcuffs. Concrete. Hammer that comment section, smash subscribe, because this story's about to go full cinematic, and trust me, you'll want to see how the little guy wins. It all ignites on a Tuesday that their gossip, when a pearl-white Lexus GX glides up the gravel like it's floating on entitlement, tires crunching slow, deliberate, like it's savoring the invasion. Door swings open, out steps Evelyn, hair sprayed into submission tighter than a hedge fund, navy blazer crisp enough to slice bread, heels stabbing the earth like exclamation points, sunglasses reflecting my weathered barn like it's a crime scene. She doesn't wave, doesn't nod, just extends a manicured claw clutching a leather folio thick as a family Bible, gold embossed Whitmore and Associates glinting in the sun. Mr. Counties, and Evelyn actually jumps, stiletto snagging on a root, nearly face-planting into a fresh cow patty. The look she fires my way could freeze bourbon mid-pour. $600 per month mitigation. Stipend, payable within 30 days, or we pursue compulsory divestiture, she says, like she's reading from a script she wrote in blood, like the words are already law. I laugh, because what else do you do when a stranger in designer armor threatens to auction your soul? She doesn't laugh. She smiles the way a spider smiles right before the web tightens, and that's when the perfume hits. Something French and expensive, cloying, mixing with the honest reek of the barn, and I feel the first splinter of rage burrow deep, sharp, permanent, the kind that doesn't fade with sunrise. Grandpa Harlan bought this spread in 1950 with a $2,000 VA loan, a handshake at the First National Bank of Sevierville, and a promise to pay the rest in butter, eggs, and stubbornness that could outlast granite. He felled the cedars for fence posts himself, mixed the mortar for the milk house with a shovel and sweat, laid every brick with hands that trembled only when he held my grandma's headstone is set. When he passed in 2018, lungs drowned in debt and decades of dawn-to-dusk labor, he left me the deed, the debt, and a hospital bill taller than the grain silo, $97. 000 in medical liens that felt like a noose made of paperwork. I'm no dairy prince. I frame houses for a living, swing hammers until my shoulders scream, but I'll be damned if I let some suit in. Nashville sell off the spot where Grandpa taught me to whistle with an acorn cap, where he buried our dog Buddy under the sugar maple, where he proposed to Grandma with a ring he carved from a silver dollar. Then the earth movers showed up next door, Oak Ridge Preserve rising overnight like a fever dream, vinyl-sided palaces with 3-car garages glaring down at my barn like it's a historical embarrassment, like it's a stain on their perfect Instagram grid. The HOA incorporated before the first mailbox went in. Evelyn crowned herself president because of course she did, because power lands like a gut punch. EPA Form 312B, groundwater contamination, nitrogen loading coefficients, language longer than my forearm, and a testing fee of $4,100 I don't have, can't have, won't have. The inspector arrives in a government sedan looking like a lost tax attorney, clipboard trembling, takes samples from the creek that's been cleaned since the Cherokee fished it, shrugs. Says everything's cleaner than a church pew on Sunday, but the invoice still arrives, crisp and official, like a death certificate for my bank account. Front page of the Knoxville Gazette. Carter Homestead under environmental review. Not false alarm, not taxpayer waste, just review, like I'm running a chemical plant instead of raising cattle, like the word investigation is. Enough to brand me guilty in the court of coffee shop gossip. I smell Evelyn's fingerprints on every syllable, taste the setup in the back of my throat, bitter as chicory. That night I sit on the porch swing, creek singing its ancient lullaby, windmill creaking like Grandpa's ghost pacing the floorboards, and I swear the land itself is breathing, angry, alive, waiting for me to choose fight. I'm framing a roof 2 counties away, each one costing a day's wage. Each inspector scratching his head at the barn so clean you could eat off the floor, apologizing under his breath for the inconvenience, muttering about anonymous complaints that read like legal briefs. Evelyn recruits neighbors like mercenaries. Karen in the Colonial Files decibel complaints about Rusty's morning symphony. Brad with the Tesla sites, odor migration, and attaches a $75 air quality report. 3 boundary disputes in one afternoon, all photocopied on Whitmore and Associates letterhead. All time-stamped within minutes of each other. I'm bleeding money, sleep, hope, the kind of slow bleed that makes a man question his own sanity, makes him wake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, wondering if the roosters really are too loud, if the barn really is an eyesore, if maybe, just maybe, the world has moved on and left him behind. Then I dive into Grandpa's attic, mountains of receipts, love letters from 1953 yellowed with age, tax stubs from the Korean War, a box labeled Harlan's War Medals that I can't bring myself to open, and buried beneath mothballs and regret. No question, they built their plastic paradise on Carter soil, and the realization hits like a sledgehammer to the chest. I post the overlay on the Oak Ridge Facebook group, caption, Barn Raisings. Evelyn replies in screaming caps, cease harassment or face litigation. Guilty conscience in high definition, pixels practically sweating. 2 days later, sheriff's cruiser in my driveway, lights off but presence loud. Deputy shifting uncomfortably, hands me a restraining order thick as a phone book, claims I'm intimidating community stakeholders via digital platforms, painting me as a deranged hillbilly with dangerous pitchforks and a vendetta against progress. Judge signs the order faster than you can say due process. I'm gagged, can't post, can't speak to. Board members, violation means jail, means losing the farm, means losing Grandpa's ghost. Walking out, Evelyn leans in, breath mint and venom. You should have paid the fines, Wyatt. Now you'll lose. It bleeds, and I swear on Grandpa's grave, on the creek, on the windmill, I'll make her choke on those words, 1 syllable at a time. Desperation drives me back to the attic, deeper this time. Past the Christmas ornaments and the box labeled Harlan's War Medals. Past the photo albums swollen with humidity, and I strike gold, literally. Letters from 1994, Southern Shale Exploration. Decline. But the geologist's note mentions Class A reservoir, horizontal drilling potential, estimated 12 to 15 million in recoverable assets. And I feel my pulse in my teeth. Modern fracking. Tech makes it worth tens of millions today, maybe more. I call drilling companies. Tennessee Blue Flame dispatches a rig within 72 hours. Appalachian Energy wants exclusivity. Suddenly my phone's hotter than a branding iron. Voicemail full of Houston drawls and 7-figure offers. Evelyn finds out. How I'll never know. Bursts into my kitchen uninvited. Mask gone. Eyes wild like a cornered fox. You're making powerful enemies, Carter. Take the buyout or disappear. She doesn't say disappear from the county. She says disappear, period, and the way she says it makes the hair on my neck stand up, makes me check the locks twice, makes me sleep with Grandpa's 12-gauge under the bed. I bring in Marcus Reed, ex-Army intel, now PI with a surveillance van that looks like a plumber's. Feed slot machines in Biloxi, Vegas, Tunica, and the Motherlode. Evelyn owns 18% of Oak Ridge Development LLC. The spa isn't a spa. It's a gas processing plant disguised as luxury, my farm the only. Surface access to a $15 million reserve. She's been orchestrating the harassment to force a fire sale, then flip the whole field to Apex Petro out of Houston. The playground? Built to launder the Channel 9 investigative producer, preps an expose with teaser clips already trending. Granny Ellis, retired principal and neighbor since 1962, rallies the old-timers who remember when this was all corn and kindness, who still call me Harlan's boy and mean it like a blessing. I sign a $15 million clean drilling lease with Blue Flame. Surface rights untouched. First check $1.5 million. Surveillance of Evelyn screaming at a blackjack dealer at 3 a.m. Bank records showing she pawned her mother's pearls to cover a $40,000 marker. The judge recuses the first one. Second judge smells fraud. Refers the whole mess to the TBI, and the dominoes start to wobble. The county commission vote is the Super Bowl of small-town justice, the World Series of vindication, the cinematic climax. The swing set she stole, past the valets who now look away, past the marble fountains that suddenly seem garish, obscene. The fallout is biblical, swift, merciless. Evelyn pleads to 4 years in. FCI Memphis, ordered to repay $2.8 million she'll never earn. Her law license shredded in a public hearing that lasts 11 minutes. Lexus repossessed before the ink dries. HOA dissolved by sunrise. Vote. The covenants burned in a ceremonial bonfire on the courthouse lawn. Blue Flame drills horizontally under the pasture. Cattle graze above like nothing happened. Pipelines buried deep. Surface untouched. Royalties fund the Harlan Carter Land Trust. Scholarships for AG students. Legal aid for farmers facing HOA tyranny. Low-interest loans for kids buying their first tractor. From a silver dollar. Host the Harvest Moon Jamboree. 6,000 souls eating brisket and square dancing where Evelyn's marble fountains once mocked my barn. Bluegrass echoing off the hills. Porch swing. Creek whispering the same song it sang when Grandpa taught me to skip stones. Windmill turning slow and steady against a Tennessee sky that finally feels like home again. Legacy tastes like the windmill turning slow and steady against a Tennessee sky. The fight is over. The war was won. The land kept its promise, and I kept mine. But here's the question I still chew on: when the fireflies come out, when the creek argues with the moon, when the ghosts of every fence post Grandpa set whisper in the dark, was it right to destroy one life to save 100 acres of memory? Or does the dirt itself get to decide who bleeds for it, who breaks for it, who burns for it? Drop your verdict below, because some nights the creek sounds like it's arguing both sides.